Join us as we explore through the world of crime in the millennial generation. As millennials ourselves, we wanted to delve deeper into the crimes we see happen in our everyday lives and find out exactly why they are committed and becoming more normal in our society. Crimes in our generation have been worse than ever, with around 61 people left severely injured or dead due to knife crime, which has surged by 16% in the UK's capital. This, along with an increase of drug-related offences, which are also on the rise, with up to 46,000 children believed to be involved with gang activity in the UK. Some as young as 12 are known to be transporting and selling drugs for urban gangs. As we travel through Essex and London, we visit some of the most high crime rated areas and get interviews with both criminals and victims to hear their side of the story. Knife crimes in Britain are on the rise, especially in London, as we see a level of unprecedented stabbings increase. We decided to interview Dunya, a 16-year-old girl who has been brought up in Camden, a popular borough of London. Being a millennial herself, she is our primary source of information to give us an insight to the type of crimes that actually go on in our generation, along with having witnessed them herself.
In my opinion, there are a lot of knife crimes in this area, a lot of gangs, and a lot of postcode wars, to be honest. When I'm walking in my estate, I see a lot of gang violence, fireworks, people hurting each other. So back in February, one of my friends called Lewis Blackman died in a party in Kensington. He was stabbed really badly by a gang in Hackney. Got the call at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 18th of February, and it hurt me so bad. He was one of my really close friends. We had a little memorial session in Peckwater in Kentish Town, and we said memories about him. We sang his songs along with one of our friends, Nuno Cardozo, who also died last year.
We were given the chance to speak to a young drug dealer whose name will not be disclosed for legal reasons. We ask him basic questions to find out what he sells, who he sells to, and the consequences that he may face. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, are we alright to ask you some questions?
Yeah, go ahead, innit? Go ahead.
So do you mind telling us what drugs that you sell?
Weed, coke, pills, heroin sometimes, innit?
And who do you normally sell that to?
Kids, innit? But anyone that's buying, really.
How long have you been drug dealing for?
5 years, something like that.
And why did you start?
Money's the motive still, I've got a criminal record, so no one's trying to employ man,
Do you ever regret starting?
Nah, not at all, I make a couple racks a day, it's good.
Have you ever been caught whilst doing this?
Man's got a couple court cases coming up, I'ma bust them still.
In February, more than 250 knives were seized across London in just 1 week, and 283 people, many of them teenagers, were arrested for carrying them. By August, stabbings were reported on a nearly daily basis, and the summer stabbing spree continued. We interviewed Aaron Roach Bridgman, a documentary maker for Channel 5 who has presented a series of documentaries around crime and justice. One Punch Killers, When Kids Kill, and 8-Year-Olds Smuggling Drugs are just a few of the documentaries that he stars in. He voices his opinion on crime in our generation along the lines of drug abuse and gang violence and how it differs from older generations.
There's more ruthlessness in young people nowadays. Us that are a bit older, in general, as it should be, we're getting a bit more mature. We're not saying that we're not completely, but we're not as involved with the street level violence. But what's even more worrying is that as much as we, as the older part of the millennials, are not as involved in it, it's like the younger ones are involved in it. And I don't know what's better. I was in jail the other day and I'm meeting young men who are 13, 14 years old that are in jail or on remand for attempted murder and murder. Getting my head around it, I can't get my head around it. It's it's always been about drug dealing. We have this whole ideology of ops. Having ops nowadays is an essential for you as a young person in the streets. And what the young people are doing now is areas that we, as the older ones, created nice camaraderie. We made sure that we squashed beefs. Yeah. Now these young ones are now creating new beefs in these areas and trying to fragment themselves even more. So now, if you're young and you're involved in the streets and you haven't got ops, you're not cool. You're not validated or verified. You have to have ops for you to be seen as a verified, validated member of street culture. And I don't understand it, because growing up, we were always trying to soothe certain beefs, because we knew that the more allies that you had, the more money you could make, or the more freely you could move around. But these kids are focused on warring each other, and then as a result, now they have a point system where I've heard a young man say to me, oh yeah, like, you know, they're 2-0 up. I thought he was talking about football, but he's talking about 2 lives being taken, and so that means that this side need to take 2 lives in response, otherwise the score is not equal. Mind-blowing. Crazy.
Around 1 in 5 adults aged 16 to 24 have taken a drug in the last year. That's around 1.2 million people, along with 3,756 deaths relating to drug poisoning in England and Wales in 2017. We spoke to 2 millennial drug users who inform us about what it's like having taken these drugs and how it's affected them.
When I first started taking drugs, I was 15 years old.
I love drugs. Well, I don't love them, but I'm addicted to them. Literally, like ketamine, cocaine, weed.
Afterwards, I've taken ketamine, cocaine, cannabis, acid, magic mushrooms, ecstasy, and MDMA.
Just like, I hate the feeling when I'm doing it. Obviously, my dad was a coke addict when I was younger, and I grew up with that sort of environment, and it was horrible.
I used to do it a lot. Nowadays, I do it with regulation. I was curious about drugs and I wanted to try them.
Since I was little, like, my dad just loved drugs as well, so I just grown up with it. It's horrible, but now I just really can't stop. I've tried rehab facilities, and it's just getting too much now. It's cost me a bomb, and the drugs cost me a bomb as well.
Rage drinking has gone down, but I think that's to do with the or almost like the popularity of drugs in younger kids.
Literally, you spend so much fucking money on coke, like a week. Probably spend about £60 at least every Monday and Friday. Literally, I've got people after me as well, because I've literally just ticked so much shit. Like, it's actually getting bad now. Like, I'm actually shitting myself, but
it's much more difficult to actually access alcohol for a younger person, whereas there's no age limit on when you can pick up or illegally trade drugs.
If I could like go back and like not do any drugs, I would. Like, this isn't a life for anyone, and it's just horrible.
With the rise in popularity of festivals, clubbing and raving, drug intake has also risen along with it. Although it is often forgotten to be a drug, alcohol, along with cannabis, are 2 of the most used drugs at UK festivals. One of the country's most populated festivals had around £45,000 worth of drugs seized, with the top 4 drugs being cannabis, cocaine, MDMA and ketamine.
Feed them to the lions. Feed them to the lions. Feed them to the lions. I said feed them to the lions. You tell him there's no running from me, ducking, diving from me, no God can save you.
As a result of millennials increasingly going to popular festivals, it's becoming almost too easy for young people to access and take drugs in unsupervised and dangerous surroundings. This is one of many ways millennials are becoming more involved in a life of crime by dealing and taking these substances. Essex Probation is a community rehabilitation company that provides services for adults serving their sentence in the community or that have been released from prison. Probation aims to reduce reoffending and concentrate on helping individuals turn their life around. We spoke to Andre, one of the managers at Essex Probation, who tells us about the kind of people that come into probation and the services that they also provide.
So in terms of millennials, in terms of their offences, and in terms of the amounts that we're seeing, there's been a slight difference. I wouldn't say it's really an increase, it's just a change in the profile. So we know that people commit offences more when they're younger than they do when they're older, and actually Desistance, which is a model that we work from, says that actually as you go through life you're less likely to commit offences anyway. Because of that, we're seeing a slight difference in our profile, probably a little less at that end. We deal with a lot of drug-related crime. We know that people who commit crimes for drugs may not only get arrested because of the drugs themselves, but also acquisitive crimes in order to be able to pay for those. And we see that all the way through our age brackets and through different types of offending as well. So we've seen a definite increase in that area. Averagely, the people that we deal with for our cohort is around 31. That's usually quite surprising to people because they think that most of the people who'll be offending will be younger, but actually it does span all across. So I think the offences that we're seeing are definitely changing. There's a lot more violent offending in what we deal with, and that violent offending is both public violence as well as domestic abuse, which is a far more private offence. We're definitely seeing that change, but that's also coming from different societal factors, so it's slightly hard to say whether it's really reflective of the whole group. As probation, one of our key ways in helping people change is really to engage with them and look at what we can do to motivate them to see their own changes. People really only change when they're ready to, and it's about being able to find someone at that point and really highlight to them what those changes would do for them, how they'd improve their lives and the lives of those around them. I think we definitely feel that the people we deal with are open to change. That's why we do it, and we see a lot of those results as well. We know that reoffending rates are dropping. We know that the work we do has definite impact to specific people and also to the victims of those offences.
As a result of millennials increasingly going to popular festivals, it's becoming almost too easy for young people to access and take drugs in an unsupervised and dangerous surroundings, along with the ongoing problem of gang activity and postcode wars allowing young people's lives left hurt, damaged or even taken. These are some of the many ways that millennials are becoming more involved in a life of crime.